It's been around 8 days since I first put these mushrooms in various storage techniques to show people how to store oyster mushrooms. On a side note, I'm also making sauce right now, so if you hear a little boiling, that's what the sauce is, and a little steam. But anyhow, I want to show, first of all, the way not to store mushrooms. And that's in the paper bag you get them in from market. So I'm going to show these mushrooms now. They've been sitting in this paper bag for a week. And I'm going to put them on a plate because they're going to shatter. So now you can see that these mushrooms have turned pretty yellow. They are still quite edible, actually. But this is not what most of my customers want after a week. To be honest with you, most people are not going to eat these. Us diehard mushroom foragers, heck, these are in great shape. But that's after a week of just storing them in the paper bag. Again, not the method I recommend. The next easiest method that I wanted to show was when I just took them in a bowl, left them in the fridge with a paper towel just underneath and over. You can see the yellow staining around the paper towel. That, is just from the mushrooms going. And you will see that these mushrooms are quite a bit more firm. These mushrooms have actually frozen in here, which is, just from the water and the fact I keep our fridge pretty low. But these mushrooms are in better shape. When you look at these mushrooms compared to the mushrooms that I kept in the paper bag, you can see that even in this method of kind of low care, they are still in significantly better shape. They've yellowed around the edges as they're drying, but they have, retained their whiteness and still are quite, good to eat. Moving on to the mushrooms in how I would recommend storing them. If I were to try to keep mushrooms like the summer whites for the week. Here are the two other methods that I showed. One method is just wrapping them in the top and the bottom, just like I did in this bowl, but I put them in a sealed container. Now when we look at these, I want to show you the difference. If you look back at that video a second ago and you see these mushrooms, you don't see any yellow tipping around the edges. You see a really nice white. You see a beautiful mushroom. These actually are in as good a shape as when I put them in here. That's 8 days later, or 7 days, whatever it is, and in perfect shape. Most of my customers at market, I tell, eat them within 3 to 4 days. And I say that because I imagine they're either going to use the easy technique or leave them in a paper bag, and you've got max 3 days on that. These are going strong. I'm going to leave these in here, and we'll look at these again in a few days. The last method, the most, labor-intensive method, was to trim them up and layer them in between layers of paper towels. Now, these paper towels are pretty moist. I know you can't necessarily tell that, but these are pretty moist. But when you look at these again are in just ideal shape. They are gorgeous. There is no yellow tipping, there is no drying, there is no decay. These are absolutely perfect and may even be in better shape than when I put them in the storage. So once again, I am going to change out this one top paper towel on these because it is really moist, and I'm going to put them back. Actually, I might change all the paper towels out, put them back in, and see how long they last. Again, a little shorter or to the point statement is paper bag, worst method. Open bowl with paper towels around it, okay method. Second, pretty good method if you're going to eat them in a few days. But if you really want to store them for a while, this is the best method, or using a little bit less labor and just putting them in here, with a paper towel around them. So anyway, another boring video that I hope is helpful.